So they say to become an expert in something, you have to do 10,000 hours of it. So today I'm going to share with you my journey to 10,000 hours and exactly what I've learned along the way about face yoga and about which techniques work for your face, how you can lift and tone your face, and what my knowledge of my own face and working with millions of other people has done to help me share the techniques I share today. Welcome to this week's episode of the Face Yoga Expert podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm very much barefaced today. I've got a little bit of the Fusion by Danielle Collins Pro Lift Moisturising Serum on, a little bit of blush and a little bit of mascara. So not much makeup going on today. I'm just rolling as I am, and I'm looking forward to, as always, chatting to you about techniques which are going to help you look and feel the best version of yourself. So let's go back to the concept of 10,000 hours. Now, this comes from an author called Malcolm Gladwell, and he actually drew on studies that were done into tennis players, chess players, experts in different areas, and found that a common theme amongst them was 10,000 hours practice before they then went forward and did any competitions or felt like their skills were at a good level. Now, I started to think about this concept with my own practice because I actually think it's easy to think that I just show up on social media and share techniques, or I do online courses, or I work from home and one day I just sort of woke up and decided to do these things and it's all been really easy. But actually, it hasn't been that way at all. I definitely did 10,000 hours of in-person teaching before I felt like I really was an expert enough to bring a skincare range into fruition or to start doing face yoga teacher training where I train other people to be face yoga teachers. Now, I work this out, and for me, 10,000 hours was about 20 hours of teaching per week. So for the first 10 years of my career, I reckon I probably taught in person for around 20 hours. Of course, I was spending a lot longer on that, generally growing the business. I was spending time researching. I was, of course, doing admin time. So I'm talking about actually face-to-face teaching people. Now, definitely 20 hours I was doing, maybe a little bit more, but my calculations showed that it would be just over 9.5 years of doing that until I got to the 10,000 hours. And I think that's so interesting because that was about the point that people were starting to become interested in wanting to learn from me and become a face yoga teacher themselves. So I just started doing our accredited face yoga teacher training course. It was also the time that people were looking for a skincare product to do face yoga with. So that's when I brought into fruition the Fusion by Danielle Collins Pro Lift Moisturising Serum. Now, in those 10,000 hours, in those first 10 years, I definitely learned a lot about how to be a good teacher. I definitely learned about what people wanted from face yoga and also for their wellness as well. And definitely a lot of my in-person teaching, whether this be at events, whether it be speaking on stages, whether I was teaching in TV studios, whether I was teaching in spas, whether it be one-to-one, all of that led me to then be able to reach the amount of people I reach now, mostly online. So this isn't really going to be a business podcast or business chat. It's more me sharing with you that I definitely honed my techniques in person with people for 10 years and then have spent 10 years since then working both in person but mostly online. And this has definitely taught me a lot about people's faces. So let's now apply what I've learned about the face to this episode today, so you've got some takeaways that you can actually use and apply to your own face. So I would say the biggest lesson I have learned with teaching all the people I've taught in person and online is consistency is key. Now, I know I say this a lot, but absolutely This is what matters more than anything when it comes to face yoga. Of course, it's important to do your techniques correctly. It's important to learn from a certified teacher, but keeping it up every day is going to make the biggest difference. So I've seen somebody who is 20, 30 years older than someone else get better results simply because they are dedicating themselves to doing it every single day. So I wanted to put that out there as the first point, but let's get a little bit more specific about the face. So the forehead area, something which I definitely observed in those 10 years of teaching people in person was that many people felt really uncomfortable about the forehead lines that can go horizontal across the face and those vertical lines between the eyebrows. And without doubt, the biggest way to reduce those is through learning to relax those muscles. So that big frontalis muscle at the front of the forehead, the muscle between the eyebrows that sort of fans up towards the frontalis muscle, which is called the procerus muscle. Now, we tend to hold a lot of our tension in that muscle. We tend to pull in the eyebrows and we tend to raise our eyebrows quite a lot as well. And in time, particularly as our skin gets a little bit older, we're producing a little less collagen in the skin, we're finding those expression lines don't bounce back as they used to. So those lines just deepen in the skin. Now, I would definitely recommend, and this is something I've recommended to so many people over the years and something which I practice myself as well, as someone that's 43 and chosen not to get any injectables like Botox or anything else like that. I find these really helpful for keeping my forehead area really smooth. And that is actually just retraining the forehead. So again, if you're used to watching my videos or you do any of my courses, you know I'll talk about this a lot. And this is so important. So the first thing I would say to do if you want to retrain your forehead is just simply bring your hands up to your forehead area, rest them there, and then just practice widening your eyes and then looking up towards the ceiling and down towards the floor. Maybe you want to do some diagonals as well. And just see what your forehead does. Now, your forehead may stay really still. Maybe you've already trained it to stay fairly relaxed when you're moving your eyes and when you're expressing. Or you may find that your eyebrows are desperate to move the moment you try and move your eyes. And that is an indication that you want to really retrain this area. If you need to place your little fingers over your eyebrows horizontally and then place the rest of your hands flat onto your forehead to keep it all really still whilst you do some eye movements, you can do that. That also works really, really nicely. And I would say practice doing that a few times a day. And then you want to also practice relaxing that area between the eyebrows, so that procerus muscle. And one of the best ways you can do that is just by simply stroking that muscle up from the nose all the way to the hairline with your index finger, or even you using your index finger and just placing it between the eyebrows on the little acupressure point there and just circling one way and circling the other way. That's a great way to relax that muscle. You really want to give that indication to the frontalis and the procerus that it's okay to relax. So it's about doing that prevention through retraining yourself, and also throughout the day, just noticing, are you pulling your eyebrows in when you're expressing, or you're worried, or you're concentrating? Are you raising your eyebrows when you're using your eyes? And actually just bringing it back to that mindfulness in the moment and just concentrating on trying to relax that area as much as possible. So that's the prevention, but also bringing in that massage as well is going to help to boost the circulation, the collagen, elastin. It's really going to help that energy flow, that prana, that chi. And you can do simple massages. So just coming across with your index fingers, sweeping outwards, or using the index fingers between the eyebrows and smoothing upwards, and try and do that a couple of times a day. And that will also relax those muscles. So I'd say that is a big thing that I learned in my 10,000 hours in those first 10 years of teaching in person. And then since then, over the last 10 years, again, just teaching, even even more people. So what I do now reaches so many more people. I mean, on my social media alone, I've got more than 1.3 million social media followers, and that community is growing every single day. So I'm reaching more people now than I ever did. But of course, working those 10,000 hours close up with people's faces, with people's wellness, with people's health, made a huge difference to knowing and understanding what people really want for their face. And a little side note here, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having lines and wrinkles. So if you think Danielle's telling me I have to reduce this line and wrinkle, or there's something wrong with having horizontal lines on the forehead or little lines between the eyebrows, absolutely not. Face yoga is just here as a tool if you choose to use it to positively smooth any lines on your face and help your skin look healthier. And it's all about just looking and feeling really good for the age that you are and just enhancing that natural beauty. So that's what I've learned about the forehead in the last 20 years. And now let's move on to your eye area. So with the eyes, I would say the biggest thing that I've noticed made a difference to people in those 10 years of working in person, and then the 10 years of working more online and a whole variety of places. And don't forget that I've worked with celebrities, and I've worked so many places. I mean, if I can make a list, I've worked in nursing homes with elderly people. I've worked with children. I've worked, oh my goodness me, if I try and remember all the places, I think we would be here all the time. I've worked on retreats, in spas, in hotels. I've worked abroad and in this country. But many people notice with their eye area that it's puffiness and dark circles, which makes them look and feel tired. Now, I would say that's the biggest thing we want with our eyes, for them to look open and healthy and energized and not tired. So two things I would say with that. Firstly, you want to deal with the puffiness and dark circles. Secondly, we want the eyes to look more sparkling and more alive. So with the puffiness and dark circles, you want to focus on lymphatic drainage. Now, I would say with lymphatic drainage, always start with fingers on the collarbone and just do some little pulsing there. You may want to do some strokes down the side of the neck, just opening up those lymphatic pathways, just going down to the lymph nodes, starting that detoxification process. And then you want to work around your eye area. This is going to be fantastic for helping to remove that lymph. And remember, our lymphatic system is our skin, or well, our body's actually natural detoxification system. So it's there to get rid of the rubbish and get rid of the garbage. Now, the circulation system is very good for helping with that too, but it's got a pump, it's got the heart. Now, the lymphatic system doesn't have any pump. So we need to give it a helping hand through movement and massage and breath. So with your eyes, using your ring finger and just stroking under the eyebrows, come to the edge of the eyes, then come underneath your eyes and back round again. That little movement there is so good. Now, I would say go really gentle with this area. So important to use that light touch. Remember, the skin around your eye area is about 10 times thinner than the skin on the rest of the face. The neck is similar thinness, but the eyes definitely have the thinnest skin. So you want to go gentle with that. You also want to do a little bit of tapping as well around your eye area. That just works beautifully. You can tap both ways. That's working with the circulation as well as the lymphatic drainage. So that's working with that puffiness and helping that lymph to move any toxins. And then you want your eyes to look open and alive and sparkly. Now, this really feeds into what I just talked about the forehead area, about retraining the forehead and using the eyes more for expressing. Now, what we tend to do in day-to-day life is when we're talking expressing, we tend to do it all with our forehead, and our eye area gets really underused. So it's underutilized. We find that the muscle that runs around the eye, the orbicularis oculi muscle, gets weaker, particularly as we age and we naturally lose some muscle tone, and our bones are affected as well. So it's about opening up the eye area. And similar to what I said with the forehead, where you place the hands on the forehead and you widen the eyes, and then you just look up and down and then side to side and then doing diagonals. as well. All of that helps to open up your eye area. Really visualize that muscle going all the way around the eye. That's a really good way of understanding that the eyes need to open more, but the forehead just needs to relax. So in the 10,000 hours of working with people over those 10 years, and then in the last 10 years since, I've really noticed that something which makes a really big difference to people's faces is if they are able to tone their cheek area, but also brighten their cheek area. So those two things help the whole face look more lifted, more sculpted, but also healthier and more glowing and energized. And I actually don't think youthful skin, for want of a better word, is all about reducing lines and wrinkles. I think a lot of it is about the skin tone and how energized it looks and how glowing it looks as well. So two things I would say to do that. The first one, in order to lift and tone the muscles, is to do daily exercises for your cheek area. So you can find a really easy face yoga program on my website. It's only £21 one-off fee, lifetime access. So if you haven't yet got it, go grab it. It's called 7-Day Natural Facelift. I also have loads of other courses on there, so you can really pick and choose what feels right for you. But if you just want a basic one, 7 videos, 12 minutes a day, each of those videos have key lifting techniques for the face and they're going to guide you through them in real time. I definitely recommend doing that. And there's a lot for all areas of the face, but you have got some really good ones for your cheek area in there as well. So I'll put the link in the notes for you for that course. It's really great to do. I'll also put the link in for the Fusion by Danielle Collins Pro Lift Moisturizing Serum, which is so good to use for all over the face, but also when you're massaging the cheeks. So any strengthening exercises are going to work the muscles under the skin, and then applying your moisturizing serum and doing a little bit of sort of pinching and twisting over the cheeks is nice, and tapping over the cheeks works beautifully as well. Anything which helps to bring that fresh blood and nutrient and oxygen up to your skin surface. Really think about how can you feed the skin. And this is why I like using natural organic products as well, particularly ones that are made with plant-based ingredients that all come from nature, literally like applying food, healthy food to your skin, which of course is an organ. It's our biggest organ. So just like the rest of the organs in our body, it really thrives from healthy food, and that is how it's at its best. So remember to look at your skin as a living organ, because that's exactly what it is, and a living organ that thrives from being fed healthy food. And you can feed it that healthy food not only through what you ingest, but also what you apply to your skin as well. So all of the 5 products in the Fusion by Danielle Collins are fantastic for that. The Pro Lift Moisturizing Serum is your final step, and that's the one obviously I just talked about, so I'll quickly tell you a little bit more about that. You've got things like carrot oil in there, so good for brightening your skin, evening primrose oil, apricot kernel oil, you've got rosehip oil in there, all so fantastic for giving those much needed nutrients to our body's largest organ. So that's the cheeks. You're working on strengthening and you're working on brightening. Then the area around the jaw. Now, working with so many people over the years, one of the most common things that people say to me is that they hold a lot of their stress and their emotion in their jaw. Maybe it causes them to grind their teeth. Maybe it causes headaches. Maybe it's just a little bit uncomfortable in that area. Something which I have also observed is if we're holding tension in our jaw, we can actually create more lines in our face. Often holding tension in the jaw means that we're more prone to those marionette lines. So that area from the mouth to the jaw area, lines are started created there because we're holding so much stress and tension there that it's really, really pulling in. Then also lines between the nose and the mouth, so nasal labial folds, they can also be created if we're holding tension in the jaw. We can even find it affects our neck and we start to create lines there. Tension in the jaw also causes fluid buildup, so we can often have what looks like a little bit of bloating or like a double chin in that area as well. So the number one thing you want to do for your jaw, not only from a wellness and health point of view, but from an aesthetic point of view, is release release tension and strain in that area. So again, in all my courses, I work with techniques where you release tension in the jaw, but go check out that 7-day natural facelift with face yoga. It's so good. When you can revisit the videos as often as you like, and there's some great ones in there for really releasing some of that tightness. And simple stroking up the jaw is great. Massaging into the jaw with 2 fingers, wiggling the index fingers just under the ears at the top of the jawline. All of these things are going to release a lot of tension. Then the neck area. Now, being as a face yoga expert for 20 years has definitely taught me that the neck area is an area that many people are concerned about. It can often show signs of aging earlier than any other part of our body for many reasons. Partly because the skin is a lot thinner, partly because we're often not bringing our skincare and our SPF down into that area. But a big reason I notice is because of posture. And I've noticed over the last 20 years, definitely seeing an increase with all of us in computer use, phone use, device use. Got to remember 20 years ago when I started, we barely used the internet really. So actually that increased use of those screens is making the chin go forward, the shoulders round, lines be created in this area, bloating and fluid retention in the area underneath the chin as well. And therefore the neck is aging quicker than it used to. It's called tech neck, and there's a reason for that because technology is literally causing that. So I would definitely say doing strengthening exercises for your platysma, that big muscle at the front of the neck, makes a big difference. Also any massage, so even just stroking up the front of the neck, particularly while you're applying your skincare. Remember, massage plus skincare is such a good combination. But working with your overall posture as well. So just working with bringing the shoulders back, pushing out the chest a little bit, bring the arms back like big wings, bring the head from side to side. That just works so nicely. Anything where you're thinking about correcting that forward posture by just doing almost like mini back bend type techniques work so well. But even just checking in with yourself throughout the day. So noticing, can you lift your chin up a little bit when you're using your phone? Can you bring your feet flat on the floor and ground yourself down? Can you bring your weight evenly on both sides? Can you drop your shoulders a little bit? Can you imagine a string going from the top of the head pulling up to the ceiling? All of these things are going to help your posture and also help your neck look more lifted and smoother as well. So I hope you have found that helpful, and it definitely was wonderful having those 10,000 hours working in person to hone these techniques. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I also have thoroughly enjoyed the 10 years since. So we're definitely at least 20,000, if not 50,000 hours now, because I would say that I have definitely spent more than 20 hours a week over the last 10 years really honing these techniques with people, even if it is online. And I feel very privileged to be able to do this. I love these face yoga techniques. I love how it can help our face, but what I love more than anything is how it can help us feel good on the inside. So I do hope these podcast episodes help you to feel good on the inside. Please leave a little comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Please rate and review if you're listening to it on any podcast platform. Just take 30 seconds to do it. It makes such a big difference. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I'll see you again next week. Bye bye.